The heavy rain fell relentlessly, turning the once dusty trenches into a muddy abyss. Sergeant William Turner huddled beneath his rain-soaked greatcoat, his eyes scanning the desolate landscape. The stench of death and decay hung in the air, mingling with the acrid smell of cordite. A chill ran down Turner's spine as he heard a faint whisper, barely audible above the sounds of distant artillery fire. He glanced at Private Jameson, who seemed oblivious to the eerie presence. "Did you hear that?" Turner asked, his voice trembling slightly. Jameson glanced at him, his eyes filled with exhaustion. "Hear what, Sarnt?" "It sounded like someone whispering," Turner replied, his grip tightening on his rifle. Jameson chuckled, though there was a hint of unease in his voice. "You're letting this place get to you, Sarge. It's just your imagination. It's certainly not Jerry's, not in this." But Turner couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. He peered into the darkness beyond the trench, straining his eyes to pierce through the rain. Gradually, a figure solidified from the mist. It was a young soldier, clad in a tattered uniform, his face pale and hauntingly familiar. Turner's heart skipped a beat as he recognized him. "Lieutenant Sullivan?" Turner exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. The apparition nodded solemnly, a flicker of sorrow in his eyes. "William, it's been too long." "But you've gone, sir," Turner stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. The lieutenant's gaze turned towards the desolate landscape, his voice filled with melancholy. "I did indeed, but some spirits linger trapped between worlds, unable to find peace." By this time Jameson had stumbled backwards and away, frightened beyond all capacity, into a dugout, not to return that night. Turner's mind raced as he tried to comprehend the situation. "Why are you here, sir?" "I am bound to these trenches, William," the lieutenant replied. "I cannot rest until I have fulfilled my duty. The souls of the fallen lads cry out for justice, and I must answer their call. I led them to their regrettable ends. I must make it right. I must lead them home now." A mixture of fear and determination filled Turner's heart. He had seen enough horrors during the war, but this was a new kind of terror. Yet he couldn't turn his back on his former lieutenant. "I'll help you, sir," Turner said, his voice resolute. "We'll put their souls to rest." The lieutenant nodded, a ghostly smile forming on his lips. "Thank you, William. Together we will bring peace to these benighted souls, ripped from this world too soon." As the night wore on, the two soldiers ventured into no man's land, their footsteps muffled by the rain-soaked ground. The whispering voices grew louder, resonating with the pain and suffering that had plagued the battlefield for far too long. Armed with nothing but their courage, Turner and the spectral Lieutenant Sullivan began the arduous task of laying the fallen to rest. Gathering each Tommie's identity tag when they could, when it was not blown yards from the body, and gathering diaries, unfinished letters, tokens from sweethearts and mothers, good luck charms from younger brothers, so many things a soldier brought with him into the hell of the trenches for just the slightest comfort it could bring. With each soul released, the spectre grew more ethereal, his presence diminishing until he vanished into thin air. Turner returned to the trenches, exhausted but with a sense of closure. The rain had stopped, and a faint glimmer of hope shone through the darkness. He knew the war would continue, but for a brief moment he had witnessed a supernatural connection between life and death, and it had changed him forever. As he looked up at the starry night sky, Turner whispered a solemn promise to his fallen comrades. "I will remember you. I will fight for a world where your sacrifice was not in vain." And with those words, he shouldered his rifle, ready to face the horrors of war once more, armed not only with a weapon, but also with the knowledge that even in the darkest of places, a flicker of light could still be found.